Hello, everyone. Could I ask those of you who are interested to follow our Indonesia Net Zero pathway and this discussion to come forward and take a seat? I think we're planning to get started. So for the second session today, so if you can come, there's a few seats here if you want to come, all right? Wonderful. So I think we can start our discussion this afternoon, and as you may know, the agenda is going to be about understanding a little bit about Indonesia's net zero pathway and how that will relate to investor opportunities, private sector opportunities. It's a pretty exciting agenda. We're expecting Coordinating Minister Luhut to come to talk to us about what the government is doing. We have panelists, Minister of Energy as well participating. So we'll take also question and answers when we open the panel at that point. But first of all, maybe for opening remarks, Pak Yus, as representative of Kadin, you will open for us. Thank you. You're on. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excellencies and honorable guests. Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, the Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs, Republic of Indonesia. We're still waiting for him to come. Bapak Arifin Tasrif, Minister for Energy and Mineral Resources, Republic of Indonesia. Bapak Aziz Arman, the Vice President of Indica Energy. Bapak Silveris Oscar Unggul, the Vice Chair of Environment and Forestry, Kadin Indonesia. Pak Alexandro Gazidi, the President Commissioner of Kerni Indonesia, and some other colleagues from Kadin Indonesia, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Indonesian Pavilion. On behalf of our Chairman of Kadin Indonesia, Pak Arsyad Rashid, my name is Muhammad Yusrizki. I'm a head of Kadin Net Zero Hub in Kadin Indonesia. I would like to welcome government officials, dignitaries, and also delegates from global business community joining us today. Good to see so many familiar faces, as well as many new ones join us here today. As a voice of business in Indonesia, the Indonesian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, or Kadin Indonesia, is honored to host this year's ASEAN Summit, bringing together leaders from ASEAN community. Sustainability will be a key focus for the ASEAN 2023 Summit. And in that spirit, I already wanted to take this opportunity to share some facts and insight around Indonesia's decarbonization roadmap and investment opportunity in Indonesia's green economy. From the business perspective, the transition to a net zero economy has passed an inflection point. Large companies are now facing pressure from their consumers, suppliers, operators, and capital investors to eliminate carbon emissions. And this pressure will continue to intensify and spread to smaller public and private companies. In short, we cannot ignore the climate risk anymore. Indonesia has taken significant positive steps to a net zero future. With clear aspiration, stated by leaders and multiple agencies working on planned targets to reach net zero emission by 2060 or sooner, reduce 30 to 40% of greenhouse gas emission by 2030, achieve carbon net sink for forests and land use sectors in 2030. The vision goes even further. By 2040, we aim to achieve plastic pollution-free Indonesia, one that embodies the principle of the circular economy. Referring to the data from the International Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA, Indonesia should increase its renewable energy electrification and energy efficiency in order to reach those targets. Indonesia has abundant new and renewable energy sources. We have over 4,400 rivers that can be used for hydropower, 29,000 megawatts of geothermal potential. The combined potential of renewable energy in Indonesia is 400,000 megawatts. It's a huge. In fact, this is more than enough to meet Indonesian future energy needs, although the pace of transition will have to take cost trends into account. Financing the transition remains the world's biggest challenge to achieving net zero. Between 2021 and 2050, global capital investment in renewable energy will amount 131 trillion US dollar, or about $33 trillion less than today's commitment of 98 trillion US dollar. One way to mobilize financing towards renewable power and innovative energy efficiency projects in emerging economies is by de-risking projects, making renewable projects more financeable and attractive to investors by earning more acceptable risk-adjusted return. During the G20, B20 last November, achievement has been made in this regard by launching a Just Energy Transition Partnership, or JETP, combining public and private investment to assist with financing for countries to transition energy generation away from fossil fuels. Over the next 3 to 5 years, 20 billion US dollar will be deployed for Indonesia to phase out coal and invest in renewable energy. And hopefully, it will be also channeled to decarbonization our industry. The JP, or the Just Energy Transition Partnership, is a landmark agreement, but it's not an end solution. We must keep working to create ideal market conditions for the transition, starting with the reduced interest rate differentials between developed and developing countries. At the end of the day, when we look at the emission per capita of Indonesia's annual emission, is far lower than those of countries with high income economies. Indonesia per capita CO2 emission amount to about 2 tons per year, compared to 17 tons per person for Australia. So it makes sense to reduce, if not get rid of, the differentiation of renewable energy project risk, as well as we all breathe the same air, regardless of where we are located, of course. Regulation-wise, the government has revamped the investment landscape to be more attractive. For example, through the ratification of job creation law, which streamlines bureaucratic red tape for setting up businesses in Indonesia, President Jokowi has also established a special task force to resolve investment delays. In addition, tax incentives are being used to promote investment in pioneer industries that offer added value and high social benefit. Regulators are indeed catching up with the wants and the needs of the investors. However, we have noted several improvements to be made, especially in solar power generation sector, as you can see here. In our role as a strategic partner of the government, Kadin Indonesia is also helping national industry to reach their net zero emission target. We launched our flagship Net Zero Hub on the sidelines of the B20 summit last November. The Kadin Net Zero Hub will help companies to decarbonize. We're assisting companies to start their net zero journey by embracing GIG protocol to baselining their emission inventory, building disclosure discipline on their climate action, and adopting SBTI or Science-Based Target Initiative as their net zero target. Kadin has also launched the Regenerative Forest Business Hub to garner knowledge and commitment from the business community to support sustainable forest management. We must remember this. It is true that we must build new things. However, we also need to conserve our God-given natural landscape, such as forests and mangrove wetlands, which are essential for mitigating climate change. Indonesia holds 23% of the world mangrove population, which is able to store about 3.1 billion tons of carbon, or equivalent to greenhouse gas emission from 2.5 billion vehicles annually. Neglecting the potential of this natural carbon storehouse is an error of monumental proportion in realizing the global net zero target in 2050. In closing, the road to net zero may not be easy for any country. But one thing we must remember, collaboration is the key. That's why we are here. We, Indonesia, are prepared to work with global players to unlock many opportunities and potentials, which amounts to 2.4 trillion US dollar in investment for green transformation up to 2060, according to data that we have from Ethicony. Lastly, I hope by the end of today's discussion, both institutional and private investors can gain valuable insight into the opportunities that are presented by the Indonesian industry of the future. Let me quote what the best marathoner in human history, Eliud Kipchoge, has said. The best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, today is 2023, just about 25 years from the mid of the century, which is 2050. So today is the very best time to act, to decarbonize our industry, to decarbonize our economy, to grow our economy in more sustainable way. Thank you. Welcome, Pak Luhut, Bu Sindar Panjaitan. Just right on time, Pak Luhut. Pak Luhut, it's your time to deliver your opening remarks. So I give you the stage for Pak Luhut. Please, Pak Luhut.
Rooming, you know. Yeah, good afternoon, friends here. I just discussed about the plastic waste in the other room, you know. So I share also what we are doing in Indonesia. How do we reduce plastic waste in Indonesia? Because since 2019, we are successfully to reduce 38.9% plastic waste, you know. So for the next 2 years, we're going to build another 52 RDF spot to clean up the waste. So this is around 1,200 tons per day we can clean up. So then you can see how many tons of plastic that we can, clean up. So now I'm talking about the Indonesian Net Zero pathway. If you look at Indonesia, we have Indonesia consists of 17,000 islands something, and if you look at also world biggest nickel here, and you'll see that, and we have also 437 gigawatt renewable energy potential, which is, I think, very huge. This one, I think, the potential of, and this one, yeah. And our population at 282 million people. And there is a need to spread economic development and industrialization. So if you look at basically our economy here, the last 77 years, but the last 8 years we try to spread out to this area. So to make balance east and west. This is because of downstream industry. I mentioned many times about the pillar of our economy is downstream industry and how do you call it, that the commodity price and also the efficiency through the digitalization and also the village funds. So in order to make Indonesia become prosper, you know, we have to balance east, center, and west. It's not an easy job to do so, but I think we are so far quite successfully to do that. And if you look at also the CO2 contribution, this data, a member of G20 contributed like 80% of the carbon emission. If per capita, you look at the US, it's like 14.7 ton per capita, and baseline is 4.5 ton per capita, and Indonesia is like 2.3 ton per capita. So you see the difference. So unfair, if we can say something like this. So during my bilateral meeting with the Secretary Yellen, I told her we should do like this and then go like this. That's, I think, fairness. Number two, any policy that advised by the foreign countries to us, we are very welcome. But don't disturb our economic growth, because our economic growth right now moving well. So don't stop this one. It's also the military strategy. When the when the sector moving well, you have to continue and boost this also progress. Now, Indonesia must invest in decarbonization. This is very important. We are doing this one, but we don't want to increase the emission. That's, I think, very important. So energy transition, this is very important. That's why we are successful to sign the JEPT during the G20 last year, November. And Indonesia is committed to reduce gas carbon emission as stipulated in its NDC. If you look at this one, this I think our target, this before nation effort only 29%, but after national effort we say 32. But I believe we can go higher than this later on. With international support we can go maybe to 45%, not very long from now. Indonesia decarbonization path needs to create industry to provide high quality job. This is, I think, what we are doing. And also Indonesia is building a green economic based on the 5 pillars. This is very important. I think decarbonization for our sector, low carbon transportation, the EV, we are doing this one. And also the alternative fuels. Now we are doing research on the palm oil, because we believe by 2040, 45, we can produce like 100 million tons of palm oil. So 30% of this we're going to for food, and then 70% we can do some research, then we can make ethanol. So we don't need to import the fossil oil anymore by that time. Low carbon transportation, alternative fuels, green industries. I think now seaport Indonesia, we have 14 seaport already, green industry, green and smart seaport. The carbon sink, we have also like trees, and also about the, the depleted reservoir. We have quite large of depleted reservoir in Indonesia. And if you look at also the carbonization in Indonesian power sectors, requires investment in 5-year RS JEPTI. This is, I think, this is 20 billion US dollars, the early retirement of a coal fire, carbon captures, infrastructure grid, area and storage, and area value chains. This is what we're doing today. But again, I remind to the to the developed country as a friend. Any advice to us, you have to remember also that your contribution to carbon emission much bigger than Indonesia. That you have to keep it in your mind. So we are still below the the what do you call it, the baseline of the carbon emission. Now, presidential decree of new renewable energy. If you look at this one, to achieve the net zero emission by 2060. But I believe again with the technology we can do it faster. Than this. Because before, it was 2070. Then I told to my colleague, hey, let's study this one. We can do it. So that's why we come up with this number, this year, sorry. But again, I believe that we can go earlier than this, because again, technology, sky is the limit. Indonesia is trying to make an energy transition from fossil fuel to the renewable energy. That's, I think, the role of the palm oil is going to be very big in the years to come. So what we are doing, we are moratorium of the size of the plantation, palm plantation, but yield of this plantation from 2.3 tons per hectares, we can go up maybe to 8 to 10 tons per hectares within the next 10, 15 years. International cooperation such as JEPTI can accelerate the decarbonization. This, I think, we are established. I was in London 3 weeks ago. We are talking about this, and then I think we can do something with the 7 big banks in London. JEPTI progress and the next steps, Indonesian international partners. I think we are doing this today. Now, Indonesia is the largest automotive market in ASEAN and can serve as a production hub to serve the largest region. If you look at this one, Indonesian population, yesterday I think the number not 282 million. That's quite big, after China, India, China, India, US, Indonesia. So the market is there. The market is there. The middle class also is there, because 60 million, 65 million now, the middle class. Population, you look at this one, I think this vehicle, this is a motorbike. So if we have to target 10% of the EV and motorbike population by within 2 years' time. Indonesia is committed to accelerate EV adoption through various regulation. I think this regulation already established, hopefully by this month, the latest next month, so we can sign the deal with some big car manufacturing. Palm oil has a higher yield compared. I told you before, this is, I think, our target, that we are doing this one, because this is super strategic of Indonesian commodity price. This is super strategic. The moratorium, let me repeat again, moratorium. So don't tell, wow, Indonesia, the palm oil, but palm oil is still better than other soybean and others. This is still much better. As the biggest CPO of biodiesel producer in the world, and has implemented a mandatory program to use as a biodiesel. See, we established collaboration with Malaysia. I think 70% is going to be within the 2 countries. So this is, I think, the program that we are doing. Indonesia is developing end-to-end EV value chain with the global players active multi-segment. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I think, the very breakthrough, a game changer for Indonesia. It's because we signed yesterday, yesterday, with CATL. So we are the CATL with Hyundai, with CATL with Mine ID, Indonesian government. So then we can go this one. So hopefully by 2025 first quarter, the latest, we can produce our own lithium battery. The same also we can see also some, I cannot disclose this one because we're still signing the NDA with some of this big company. And you'll see the EV car in Indonesia. But for the moment, we still import the EV until we can produce our own EV in Indonesia. So under construction, I think it takes like 2 years' time. And also Vale played a very good with Antam. This is, I think, the consortium with the CATL, IBC, and Hyundai, the Cetra, PLN, and so all, I think, the consortium. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I believe again, when we are able to set up the good team, that we can achieve everything. We experience from how do we handle COVID-19. Everybody looked down in Indonesia before, but we prove it that we are one of the best countries globally to handle the COVID-19. Indonesia is also committed to develop national solar panel value chain to support. This is, I think, very important. We discussed even this afternoon with one of the American government official that we discussed this one. We are very open to do this one. We have every material to manufacturing solar panel in Indonesia. So we can very open to negotiate with everybody, but you have to be equal. Let me say again, equal. Don't ever try to dictate Indonesia in this time. Maybe before somebody tried to dictate Indonesia, fine, but not this time. Indonesia can be a global leader in the carbon offset market. If you look at this one, this is Brazil, China, Indonesia. So we can, do the very significant role in this area. Nature-based carbon credit issue. This is also, you look at also Indonesia here. So ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia can play the very significant role in the world today. Restoration and rehabilitation of degraded ecosystem. This is something very important. If you look at also like degraded land, 3 million hectares, we are doing this one. And also replanting mangrove, 600,000 hectares for the next another 2 years' time. But now, I think we are able to go to over 200,000, 300,000 hectares of mangrove rehabilitation. That's, I think, part of a contribution to the climate change. So, because they can go 10 times of the forestry contribution carbon to the global. And follow here also, Indonesia forestry and other land use follow, net sink to 2030. This is, I think, the data from the Minister of Environment. Now, mangrove rehabilitation program, climate change, this is, I think, I went there 2 weeks ago, much different than this. This is the actual day, but today, if you go there, you see very, very beautiful. So that's Indonesia. We prove it that we can do something. And Indonesia has contributed to significant CO2 emission saving through its carbon sink and has potential to sequester much more CO2 in the near future. That's, I think, we can move it very well, ladies and gentlemen. That's our target. When we do it together, we can do it. We can deliver. Indonesia will continue to leverage green growth initiative as the driver. It is the economic growth and welcome collaboration. This is, I think, also. Now we encourage, for instance, Grab, more with the motorbike, with the taxi EV. Similar also to the other. Government give a fully support. Some company maybe want to invest something. As long as benefit Indonesia, benefit them, we love to do that. That's, I think, all that I can share to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hesitate. Indonesia doing very well. We are very proud to be Indonesian, and Indonesia is something. We can contribute a lot to the global today. Thank you.
So thank you, Pak Luhut, Minister Luhut. I think with that, we call on our panel to come on stage. Yeah. Of course, I'm Alex, and we'll open for some Q&A as well during the panel discussion. And with Shirley, our CEO of Indonesia from Kearney, we will be hosting you in this discussion. So, Pak Yus, Pak Aziz, Pak Arifin, Minister of Energy. We're hoping to have... Oh, sorry. Yeah. Silakan, Pak. And Pak Onte juga ya. Ya, silakan. So I think we got a speed download, but very effective from very senior minister and very senior leader of Indonesia, of the government program, the government priorities, and how the country is trying to change and modernize and get green in a lot of its sectors. I would ask, now we perhaps can go into one lower level of detail and talk from your experiences, and I would start with Minister Arifin. In terms of what's the next wave of policy incentives and support that you're seeing coming out of Indonesia and your ministry to accelerate this energy transition? What are you planning? What are the next surprises you're planning for investors?
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everybody. My portfolio is energy and mineral resources. So at one side, I have to produce energy. It means I have to produce more oil and gas, including the coal. At the other side, I also handle the mineral, including the coal. So there will be a contradictory program recently. Meanwhile, the demand is increasing. At the other side, we have to reduce the emission. So in this case, we prepare already our roadmap for achieving the net zero emission. We prepare such kind of short-term program, how we can increase our energy mix, renewable into the systems. And then at the other side, we have to also to think about the reduction or even stoppage the use of our coal resource to be used as the power plant. Meanwhile, yeah, we have the program to reduce 5.7 gigawatt of coal-fired power plant from our system, which is old unit in the 4 locations. And then we thanks G20 results also support us with this financing program in order to implement this. We hope that within this semester we can conclude such kind of agreement. At the other side, we do our own program by using our own resource in order to reduce our emission. For instance, right now we have program of using our potential biodiesel fuel in order to reduce our dependence on our crude and fuel consumption. We are successfully implementing the B30. Government just provide the regulation and the things implemented by business sector, and also it related to the small farmers. So this project we will continue. This year we increase another 5%. Yeah, to increase the reduction of the fuel to our system. The next thing is how we can reduce is also about the electrifying vehicles. We have a program to reduce the emission from the vehicles, transportation. First, we aim for the two-wheel transport system units. There are 120 million two-wheel vehicles now in Indonesia. Assuming they consume 1 liter fuel per day, it equal that we burn 800,000 barrel oil equivalent per day. So it's it's a lot. Besides that, we have also to reduce the emission. Government provide the incentives. Yeah, right now we are preparing the package. How it can accelerate the program. At the other side, we are now also in order to boost the role of our renewable energy source in Indonesia, that we prepare the new law that will make easy, more clear concept to welcome the investor. For the next 10 years, we are planning to put 21 gigawatt of renewable energy into our systems. So it's a potential investment for the investors to come. Regarding the incentive, right now, I think all materials, I think we talk about the import tax, etc. This is also provided by our Ministerial Finance Office, in order to support the realization of the transition itself. Yeah, in detail, I think I cannot remember one by one, but there is a big effort from our government to accelerate the use of renewable energy and then to accelerate the transition. We have a lot of sources, not only from the fossil base, but we also have the huge amount of the renewable in the country. And the thing is how we can utilize this.
Thank you, Pa. Maybe, sorry, I think they're just a follow-on question on this. You were talking about the release of a new EV incentive package. Is there anything, perhaps this might be very interesting for investors because the value chain, a lot of different players can operate either, upstream, battery, downstream vehicles, and so on. Is there anything you can share about the current thinking of the incentives? Is it on the consumer side? Is it on the supply side? Is there anything you can share about the philosophy of the incentives that you plan?
Okay, thank you, Alex. The incentives, I think from the upstream side, especially for the how to manufacture the equipment or materials required for EV. And then the other one is the incentive for the user. Incentive also probably for the investor who invests in the infrastructure, charging systems. So the benefit will be get by all parties. From the user of the vehicles, they can make a significant save from the energy cost that they have been spent. When we assume 1 liter is 10,000 rupees, 1 kilowatt is only 2,000 rupees. So that is the difference. At the other side, they also will have a half of the cost will be covered. And well, actually, this program, we are aimed to how to involve the small workshop who are going to do the conversion system. Right now, we do the training for them. There are more than 100 small workshop in order to allow them to do the conversion. The conversion itself, as far the material is available, it will take only 3 hours.
Okay. Thank you, Pa. Thank you. Looking forward to this new issuance of policy and incentive to accelerate the EV value chain. Pa Aziz, maybe I jump to you as Deputy CEO of Indica Group, so one of the largest energy players of Indonesia, that is also transforming itself, right? Moving into the green economy and green energy. Perhaps for investors, share your view where you're putting your bets, why, and what big open spaces you're seeing and exploring in this, how do you say, transition?
Thanks. Well, I think the commitment we Yes, again, let me repeat it a little bit. Yeah, the commitment from the government to decarbonize the economy triggers many new things in the economy. New green economy, new industrial clusters, new jobs, and new ecosystems. The, and the sectors are varied from the very traditional sort of sectors, just switching from coal fire to more non-renewables, from fuel-based vehicles to electrification. They are pretty much in a traditional way, but a new products, new technologies. What I'm getting at here, what I would like to emphasize in today's discussion, is basically on how to fund the transition. Right? Indonesia as a country, or in this case, the government of Indonesia, has been the first mover actually in the sustainable finance. The green sukuk, the green bond, that sort of stuff has been in the market for quite some times. And if I'm not mistaken, in the past 4 to 5 years, the government of Indonesia or the quasi-government have issued about 10 transactions in the market. But the one thing would like to emphasize or to focus on the private sector's financing in the transitions. We talk about the new ecosystems. We talk about the producers of the electric vehicle, for example. But then the ecosystem required for this product, for example, for this production to be successful, the ecosystems, the supply chain require funding. That is, I think, what we need to come in with a solution, a way on how this supply chain will be financed in order for them to support the production of the final products. That is number one. Number two, I think one thing I would like to also emphasize here, that actually the authority of Indonesian authority in financial market have very made us positive progress in terms of issuing regulation in relation to sustainable finance, OJK in this case, right? But again, the private sector actually have not moved as expeditious as anticipated. I think the risks of the new sectors, quote unquote new sectors, are still vast for financial sectors, for the private sectors to go all the way in supporting the transition. So it is related to the new technology, new things, or basically new credit risks of the sectors. And familiarity of majority of the financial sectors in Indonesia and in the region, in the global, are still in progressing, but it's not as their understanding or their familiarity, their competencies in understanding of the sectors are still really constrained by the risk profile of the new sectors. So I stop there, Alex, and open for discussion next or later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Aziz, and would like to actually ask Pak Yus for the next question. So Ken, it's very exciting, Pak Yus, to understand about the Kadin Net Zero Hub. So would like to understand more what's the whole objective and also priorities for the Kadin Net Zero Hub. and how do you think it will be used, beyond Indonesia for ASEAN, for example?
Thank you, Kanit, for having me on for this panel discussion, and it is very uh, exciting moment for us, Kadin Net Zero Hub, to really share what we've been doing with you, all of you, as we really want to mobilize more international support for creating, building up Indonesian net zero ecosystem. Izin Pak Menteri. Yeah, Kadin Net Zero Hub basically is a new platform that established just last year after the COP26 in Glasgow. We were established with the understanding, the awareness that we acknowledge that the private sector has the same responsibility with our government to achieve Indonesia net zero by 2060 or sooner. Don't forget, the businesses, the industries are the biggest emitter.
Yeah.
The IPCC said the industry is the biggest contribution to the global emission. And as we are in Indonesia, I think that's why we start this initiative. Basically, Kadin Net Zero Hub is a platform to assist Indonesian companies to start their net zero journey. As of last November, we already have the first 57 Indonesian companies who intend to pledge their net zero target by adopting SBTI, Science-Based Target Initiative framework. So this is the global accepted framework, and I think we are now can speak in the same language with all of you.
Yes.
And not only getting these companies to pledge, by the way, the Net Zero Hub is also in the same time to build the new discipline of disclosure. So we have some partners to make Indonesian companies to start building up this new discipline, as well as we're working together with our chartered accountant association in Indonesia to embrace, to adopt the ISSB to be the new standard of sustainability report, which will be extended to our IDX. That's why we launched our first climate index. It is very important, and I think this is a legacy from Pak Arshad and all the leadership of Kadin. That will be a new index coming into the IDX. Hopefully, by 2024, we're going to have composite index for those listed companies in Indonesia who really, doing their climate action. And the third pillar that we call it enabling ecosystem. This is where we want to, invite a lot of innovation, technology, enabler, financing to enable Indonesian companies to achieve their net zero target. So we really want to extend our conversation to the ASEAN because we believe as a part of the global supply chain, the challenges is the same in many other ASEAN members, countries, which also have the pressure from their buyers, from their principals, from their creditors, lenders, to embrace or to move to transition into this net zero pathway. So that's basically our program for this year.
Thank you, Pak. Yes, congratulations also on the pledge. That's really amazing, and
Thank you.
index as well. So it's definitely a lot of great potential there, and also potential to leverage in ASEAN. So maybe I'll move to Pak Onte. So thank you again, Pak Onte, for joining our panel. And I guess in terms of the question that we would like to understand more is, what are some of the key challenges and headwinds on forest sustainability in Indonesia?
Okay, thank you. I think for us in Kadin, let's say we move all technology to renewable, and we are zero emission. But That's we're only thinking from now to the futures. How about the emission already there? So we need to absorb. We need to remove from the atmosphere. That's why the Kadin Regenerative Forest Hub is important. We're thinking about how our potential in forestry can remove. But we really don't want only doing for carbon. Now I think the big issue is regenerative forestry, regenerative agriculture. We know many big companies here pledge to be regenerative because, of course, for one example, because they have SBTI from scope 3.
Yeah.
For example, Unilever will complete the scope 3 in 2040. This means all the coffee or all thing, raw material going to Unilever must be regenerative, must be climate positive. That's why Kadin built this regenerative forest business. Why? Because we have 30 million hectares land, forest, under concession. We have at least 547 companies doing the forestry sectors. And our regulation in Indonesia now, under the Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, the regulation of Omnibus Law for job creation, the government give us like multi-purpose businesses. In the past, if you have a concession of forestry, you only can doing timber. But now, with your permit, you can doing everything. You can doing environmental services, you can doing timber, and you can doing agroforestry. That's the opportunity for Indonesia to support the regenerative commitment for the big companies. Walmart, they commitment to do the regenerative land in North America, about 50 million hectares. Come to Indonesia, we have 30 millions in private concession, and the government Indonesia gives social forestry about 12.7 million hectares. This is huge opportunity to doing regenerative forestry. We not only absorb, removal the carbon, but we produce the regenerative product for all the big company who commitment to SBTI, especially in scope 3. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Onte.
Thank you. So take your pick, EV, solar, forestry. There seems to be opportunity across the board. Maybe though I'd open if there are questions from
The
audience.
audience,
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, Pa Arifin, so the way to net zero for Indonesia, definitely you need lots of green energies, renewable energies. But the reality today is still very beginnings, so little small sectors. So what kind of deregulation you are going to make for the electricity market and segment to really to open up the investment opportunities for global investors? Thank you. To really to increase the renewable energy investment. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we understand that the things required to do the transition is not cheap. There are many things that we still wait. Availability of the proven reliable technologies, such as smart technologies, batteries, storage systems, even the carbon capturing. So government right now, we do whatever we can with our own resources, as I mentioned before. But for the next things, we prepare such kinds of regulation which will be more easy. For instance, right now we are preparing the new law for the renewable. Yeah, it will be issued within this year, hopefully within this quarter, or latest will be in the first semester. So the chapter also will show you how Indonesia is a friendly place, friendly location for the investor to come. So we are blessed with the huge amount of renewable. We need the reliable technologies, competitive technologies, and also easy finance. So what you can do, what you can offer, and then this is what we are going to do. We are going to serve you.
So that's two commitments, Pat, that I'm hearing. One is EV incentives. We're waiting for that. And the second one is a new renewable law, yeah? I think if you were pointing to a reform of the whole electricity sector, maybe, yeah, that's to be studied as well.
It's very exciting.
Please.
Yeah.
Could you just introduce yourself?
Hello, Jean-François Groff. I'm from Geneva, serial entrepreneur. Are there opportunities in transforming the way that mining is done? In the same way that forestry can be regenerative, mining today can be, less polluting, a lot less polluting than it has been. And I know there's a lot of mining in Indonesia, especially copper and gold. You have any remarks?
Thank you. Well, we have a regulation that the mining company, they have the obligation to do the reclamation. Yeah, and then also recently, because the mining location is quite far away from the source of the energy supply, they have to rely on their own energy. And the most quickest one right now they're using the fossil one. But right now they have already the program. They're going to convert into the more cleaner energy. Of course, this has to be done stepwise. From heavy carbon content into the, probably to the milder one. They are talking about using the heavy carbon, coal, into the milder one. We talk about natural gas. And then the possibilities of future using ammonia or other kind of renewable things which is clean. So it will be consistent. Yeah, for the mining sectors who are doing the processing of mineral which is used for the renewable materials or equipment, they are using the clean energy. So welcome.
Pa Aziz, did you want to add anything to this?
Thanks. Thank you for the questions. Two things. For the existing operation, what we have been doing, applying really technology, digital technology in the mining practices, in the mine plan, have helped us reducing our fuel consumption, which actually this is a decarbonization exercise. It's not just investing into new sectors, right? So you're improving your practices, your existing practices, your existing operation by way of applying digital technology, AI, the IoT, that sort of stuff, help us to reduce our fuel consumption and then the cost, and certainly is more profitable. That is number one. Number two, we are together with a UK-based company, are still at the feasibility study stage, exploring in a new technology for smelter, which is a zero waste smelter. Because smelting has a waste, right? So I think in terms of how we can improve, how we can treat technologically to achieve a zero waste smelting sort of technology would be potentially a solution in the future.
Yes, you want to add?
Yeah, I have to be proud to tell you that Vale, the Canadian mining company in Indonesia, they intend to pledge their net zero commitment through Kali Net Zero Hub. Having said that, they need to decarbonize their activity, right? And I think a lot of initiative that's been done by Fale. One of them, on the energy side of their activities, they built their own hydropower. Yes, and but that's not enough. They need more. The energy consumption or energy is the biggest emission sources for the mining, like Pak Aziz mentioned. And some other, of course, by pledging their commitment to be net zero company, they will need a lot of enablers, like maybe one of you can bring in. So, Kali Net Zero Hub, by the way, in that way, we're creating a demand side for many, many enablers to come to Indonesian market. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess also many other companies like Freeport has also done that in Indonesia as well. So it's like, yeah, definitely, I think the awareness and the intent is definitely there. But any other maybe last question?
Hi, my name is Nelson Vadashiri from C6 Energy. We're a seaweed farming company both in India and Indonesia. So when my question and more of a comment was, when you're talking about net zero pathway, have you considered seaweed cultivation in this? And the reason I say is Indonesia is the largest cultivator of seaweeds. It's so carbon negative, regenerative for sure, and potential for huge employments. And in the map, not just in Java and that area, but all across from. Is that there in the pathway?
Yeah, I think seaweed plantation, what I said, we have a long experience in this. We export the seaweed to Japan because Japan, they consume seaweed. But when I have once met a research company in Japan a couple years ago, that they have a program, yeah, because of the availability of energy in Japan. They have the program to produce crude from seaweed, because seaweed is hydrocarbon. Yeah, but the program is right now we don't know, it is a continuation. But this is one of alternative, because according to his calculation, that the crude oil produced by the seaweed processing, the cost can compete the natural crude, yeah. But right now, seaweed also can be used for biomass, yeah, biomass. But it needs a large, yeah, huge area, yeah, in order to, if we want to use all the biomass coming from seaweed to replace half or all of the energy required for the electricity. But this is what we think is innovation. Innovation has to be more intense, yeah, and then the fund to do the research has to be more available. Then the market should be open, yeah, by the regulation and also by the demand itself.
So at that, I think unless there are any super urgent questions, we need to. Okay, we'll take a last. Oh, okay, that was just a hand movement. With that, I thank all of our panelists for sharing this. Sorry? One sentence. Yeah, silakan.
Yeah, I think I'd like to convey what the chairman of Kadin, who is also my boss in the Indica Energy, my president director, has vision to emphasize the inclusion and the collaboration effort in the transitions. And this time around, the inclusion and collaboration in financing of the transition is very key for any decarbonization initiative. So I think Indonesians are ready to have a collaborative risk and return profile with anyone in this forum. Thank you.
Yeah, so Pa Aziz, you anticipated my last sentence, which was I would invite you, if there's a minimal interest, to please do take the contacts. We have senior leadership here from government, from Kadin as a facilitator of partnerships into Indonesia, also Anin Bakri here from Kadin as a senior leader. So do take their name cards and use these contacts for your discussions into Indonesia. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very much again.